One of the stories that came to me today was when I went to get my tyres checked by Herald Way Tyres in Coventry, and I was talking to the owner about a number of different things, and he asked me if I believed in spirits and ghosts, and he told me a tale about when his father had a hairdresser's in Coventry city centre where Argus was, above the Argus store. And his father came home and told them there was a ghost there. And obviously the family were a little bit disbelieving in this. And they did some research into the area and found out that it was one of the hanging sites in Coventry before the city centre got built. Research side note, Mary Ball, the last person or the last woman to be hung in Coventry on August the 9th, 1849. She was convicted of poisoning her husband with arsenic. Her execution drew a crowd of about 20,000 people, and a death mask of her face was made and is now held by the West Midlands Police Museum. Now, we know she was found guilty of the willful murder of her husband, Thomas Bull. And what I found out was the scaffold was on Cuckoo Lane, outside of Coventry Jail. And her legacy is that her execution was one of the last public hangings in England and is marked by a plaque on the former county hall. The interesting thing around this is that the building in which the hairdressers were set was experiencing movement. So there was a poltergeist. The poltergeist was closing the door and opening the door. And the gentleman was telling me how his father had been in the hairdressers and he was waiting for some of his friends to join him. They were doing some boxing training because they were a family of boxers. And he heard the door open and close. And so he went down to go and have a look and no one was there. So he's looking. He thought maybe his mates had turned up, but they hadn't. And while he was standing there, the door opened and closed again in front of him. He wasn't frightened, but he did say he had a bit of a cold shiver. And then when he went through to the kitchen area, the kettle had been turned on and had been boiled ready to receive his friends. So that was an interesting story, wasn't it? And he also told me about how his mother was Maltese and how his grandmother described to him what it was like to live on Malta during the raids from the Germans who were flying in from Sicily. And she told him that she was able to see the eyes of the German pilots because they were flying so low. He said the memorabilia and the dugouts and areas where the people used to hide during the bombing raids, they've been kept for history, for people to go and view and see what it was like to live there. And there's one particular bunker where the bomb came in and it basically bounced along, but it didn't go off, and everybody survived in that particular bunker. And they've actually made the bomb safe so that they've been able to keep it there so people can actually view it and see how lucky those people were there. She also told him about when this ship came in bringing them food and how they had been starving for such a long time, and the ship saved them. So I will go and have a look up the name because I didn't quite catch it with his accent. And that made a huge difference. And apparently when this ship came in, it had a huge hole in the side of it where it had been torpedoed. But it was obviously meant to be, wasn't it, that that ship was going to get in and give the people in Malta the food that they had been waiting for. So I would imagine there was a lot of faith around surviving that experience and also how people felt afterwards. So 2 stories for one from visiting Herald Tyres in Coventry. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Cauldron of Curiosities. If you enjoyed this dip into folklore, don't forget to follow the podcast, share it with a friend, and keep your lantern handy for the next curious tale.